Hello, everyone. My name is Damir First. Over the millennia, humans have shaped tools, and those tools in turn shaped how we think, how we trust, and how we remember. Today, I'm here with Aleks Jakulin. Aleks did a lot of things. He was in the academic, he was in the civic works circuits. He worked both in Colombia, where he worked with statistics, later on built a couple of entrepreneurial projects, and currently he's working on something called Data.Flowers. Data.Flowers is a proposal how a new reality layer can be built to restore trust in the data that we use. Thank you for being here, Aleks.
Hey.
Something that I found about you is that when you were a kid, you were in many computer science competitions and coding competitions. And then later on, one of the things that you worked on was the creation of the PNG format. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was one of the volunteers. That was like a small group of maybe a dozen of us who designed the PNG standard.
How did you guys realize that this is something that's needed?
This is one of those things that, you feel that some change is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily know when, but that in the body of technology, something's going to change. And it took 15 years for Microsoft to finally implement Ping correctly. Mm-hmm. So it took 15 yeers for, the industry to really broadly support it.
In a way, when the internet was invented, so Tim Berners-Lee worked at CERN, right? And he wanted to create a way for scientists to more quickly exchange data, information about many of the research projects that were happening there. And the whole idea of hyperlinks and in general what the World Wide Web is today kind of came as a solution for a data sharing project.
Yeah, with the caveat that what Tim Berners-Lee was developing for was really focused on academic researchers, and this is not representative of the world as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you are a researcher in a government position, you don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about the business model. You don't have to worry about the abuse and misuse of the technology. So some of the choices that were made in the beginning have been dragging us down. Last week, I spoke to the inventor of the Ethernet, Bob Metcalfe, and he said that the absence of a business model for information has been one of the flaws of the internet, and the other one was the absence of a proper security model. So that's something what we can address now if we build data infrastructure properly.
How do we build data infrastructure properly?
Well, this is what my company is doing, Data.Flowers. But the fundamental idea is that, we cannot do everything at once, okay? It will go step by step, data type by data type. Mm. And the most important data type for us to really focus on initially are business directories. It's like we almost dismiss them, but at the same time, business directories is how customers and businesses find each other. Mm-hmm. This is an incredibly important problem. And right now, in the absence of infrastructure, everyone's just shouting,
right,
and not communicating.
So, let's try to explain this in a way which makes it clear to somebody who doesn't really understand what's missing. Because the way we do things usually is the best way that we can at the time, provided the resource that we have, right? And I had trouble understanding what it is that you are trying to serve that already isn't there. So can you explain what it is that an ideal system of data infrastructure would look like and what it isn't today?
Well, so what's happening right now is that every company is spending money for advertising and marketing and search engine optimization and so on. And it's a zero-sum game, sub-zero sum game. Okay. And every customer is out there looking at bargains and trying to filter and scan, and it's also like a zero-sum game. Okay. The solution of infrastructure is for everyone in a particular area, for example, a town or a business community, to come together and solve their marketing and search engine optimization in one place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our initial use case with Data.Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
But the fundamental realization, like, why is it called Data.Flowers, right? Like, it's because data is not oil to be mined. The data is alive. Like, data needs to keep getting updated. And if you just take it and mine it, you've killed it. You've killed the system that actually keeps care of that data,
Mm-hmm.
that keeps maintaining it, that keeps investing in it, that keeps also reaping, the rewards on that data. Okay, like, we need to think less mining, extraction, okay, and we need to think more like ecosystems and nurturing and
Growth.
right. I mean, that's how you get growth,
Mm-hmm.
sustainable growth, right? Mining is only going to give you short term.
Right. So instead of dead fossils that turn into fuel that we think of as valuable, we can have something that's alive and constantly changing and also available to both the end user and the company.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, we've utilized the previous generation of technology, which was basically paper books and publishing and all of that. But now we need to actually create a new living ecosystem around the data for the future.
Right. Okay, so let's say I have a certain amount of companies in a let's say the AI sector, right? So there are companies, there are shareholder, there are parts of the ecosystem, institutions which are both public and private, companies, and also end users, clients. So how do we map out the way that they interact right now?
I mean, it's interesting that you say map out, because the typical thing is just to make a list.
Right.
Okay. And I mean, lists are hard to use.
Why?
Well, they're hard to use because you have to like go down them and scan them. Okay. And there's usually not enough information in there to do search. But, even search only tells you what you knew you didn't know. So mapping is like the next level. When you map, you create something that's going to tell you what you didn't know you didn't know.
Right. Okay.
So yes, like right now, folks have lists that tell you what they know.
Right.
Okay. And from there, we go to search that tells you what you know you don't know. And from there, we go to maps that tell you what you know you didn't know.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So this alone is a very valuable solution for chambers of commerce, business associations, event organizers, but also like countries, investors.
What is a typical kind of insight you can get from using Data.Flowers that would be impossible for you to see otherwise?
So a map will tell you what exists that perhaps you should know more about. Okay, like a map gives you a broad view, and it also gives you a kind of a holistic view where you do have a kind of a sense of what's going on, so you're not just in your tunnel vision. A map is gonna allow you to connect there's so many people who are doing this mapping.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem right now is to make a map, it costs like $1,000 and not very interesting work for a designer. And as soon as they finish, it's out of date because data's changing
Right.
all the time.
So what is the result? Like, what is this map usually a file, or is it like a illustration showing, let's say, different, like the way that I imagine it in my mind is you have a 2D image which has logos of different companies and potentially how they're in some way connected.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that the map is a living database
Okay.
presented visually because our visual cortex in the brain is kind of like our GPU.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what GPUs have done for artificial intelligence. They can do the same thing for us as we move information from like letters and numbers to visual maps.
Right.
Okay, but the second thing is a map is infrastructure. Okay, because a map allows you to navigate. If you cannot navigate, then you're just walking the same trail over and over and over again. Or you have to ask others, or you have to go and like build your own map, which is super time consuming. And currently, like everyone's just doing this. You know, how often are you researching something online, even though the result of this research is something that a bunch of other people have done before?
Right.
You just don't have a good way of sharing it.
Yeah. Let's see how Data.Flowers makes that into a product.
What we do is we work with folks who already have a partial map
Mm-hmm.
of, say, the business environment, of member organizations, of products. And then we upgrade this database into something that's state of the art. Number one. And number two, it's going to keep evolving. It keeps getting updated. It keeps getting better and better and better. And as we do such databases of businesses that have been checked and screened and tested, we create a resource that then search engines and AI models and AI companies and agents can depend on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they need to run on reliable data.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
Do
who's going
they
to do it?
actually? Do they?
I mean, they want to have reliable data, but they also don't necessarily, they cannot do it by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a part of the responsibility of any ecosystem to provide data infrastructure for all the AIs and user applications.
Mm-hmm. And actually now it's accelerating because if we have AI as a new stakeholder in, picking up data and regurgitating it in some way which feels trustable, but we can't really know for sure, then we need to kind of rethink how data is structured, shared, and updated in real time.
Very much so. I mean, the old term garbage in, garbage out.
Yes.
Right? I mean, all of these AI companies, they cannot solve the problem of garbage. You cannot expect them to solve the problem of garbage. Like, you need to solve your own problem of garbage in your own business ecosystem by actually creating reliable data infrastructure.
Yeah. So for someone who never thought about this before, right? It's effectively a problem that no one solved until now in this way, but actually people don't even think about it as being a problem.
Yeah, I don't think people really think about infrastructure enough, especially in the context of digital infrastructure. Okay, they're usually thinking about what any individual company wants, or any individual consumer wants.
Right.
But infrastructure is basically a bunch of people and companies coming together and doing something so that everyone's better off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is the next step to the development of higher quality information, higher quality tools, higher quality software, higher quality information, higher quality artificial intelligence.
Mm. So let's say, let's look at AI that, let's say, OpenAI, ChatGPT, and I'm looking at a piece of information that I got as a response to my query, and I can now kind of check sources for it, like this is a relatively new part of what it does. And then I check the source and I see that, let's say my longevity advice comes from a Reddit post, because that's where the LLM took data from.
Well, it happens that, Reddit is the current state of the art for data infrastructure. Nothing wrong with Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a useful tool. And I assure you that OpenAI would use better infrastructure if better infrastructure existed.
Yeah.
So, why aren't we making better infrastructure?
Well, that's a question that if I knew how to answer, I would probably make $1 billion.
Yeah, I think we should.
Let's say you're talking to an investor now. So what is it that you tell them that they don't need, that they didn't understand that they need so far?
Probably the biggest realization for an investor interested in artificial intelligence right now is not so much on how to make the next greatest AI tool, okay, but how to make the greatest tool for AI tools to use. Okay, like when you've got a bunch of gold miners, what's going to help them mine more gold? Well, better shovels,
Right.
better explosives,
Yeah.
better pens,
better maps.
Okay, so in the context of AI, okay, like the thing that's going to make the biggest difference for better AI is better data infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like faster chips and more electricity and all of that. But better data infrastructure is the single most important way to amplify the value we get from AI.
Mm-hmm. So let's see if I understand correctly. So right now, the way that most AI models work is they're increasing exponentially the amount of compute and the amount of energy consumption that they use to, because let's say, okay, so you needed 100 units, 100 GPUs to go from ChatGPT 4 to ChatGPT 5. But to go from ChatGPT 5 to ChatGPT 6, you don't need another 100 units. You need an exponential number of more units. So you need like 1,000 units.
They've been doing this, and they're kind of beginning to realize that actually more compute is not really going to solve the problem because they don't have more data. Like they've tapped out the data.
Right. So also you need trainable data to use.
The general consensus among the top AI researchers right now is that data is becoming the limitation, not the compute.
The dead internet theory.
Dead internet is the sad, very sad realization that we've been neglecting the economic foundations of the internet.
What does that mean?
Right. So if you publish something on paper, then you sell it, right? Then you make money. And then it allows you to publish more. On the internet, if you put good stuff online, all you're going to get is greater costs because more people are going to be hitting your server.
Right.
Right. So if in the paper economy, better information makes you more money, online, better information loses you more money.
More costs. Yeah.
Okay. And then there is this kind of convoluted method of monetizing information by putting in advertising, which is like bad information. The exact way of monetizing data is not by like selling your data. It's by investing in data infrastructure that then supercharges an economy. Okay, because we resolve a huge amount of inefficiency and fraud by creating better data infrastructure.
You helped invent one of the most used formats, the PNG format.
Also JPEG, but yes.
Also JPEGs. Yes, exactly. So this is something that today runs on almost any computer. Like, how is Data.Flowers going to help invent the next thing that is going to be on every computer or every server?
The next thing is that every user online is going to be a native user of data. Okay, like right now, we're native users of applications. In the future, we're going to be native users of data. And this is powerful. And I wouldn't have expected this unless I was a part of an effort that was a data infrastructure effort that became the number one search term on Google in the whole country in the whole year by giving people data who were looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out people are looking for data now.
You have a pretty strong team of, as you said, you name drop quite a lot. Very often in our conversations, you name drop people who like really helps invent the technology that the entire world is using. Who else is supportive of this idea?
It's not name dropping, right? Like it's just the
It's
team.
just the people you work with,
But
yeah.
happens that the team
Yeah.
includes the inventor of the blockchain, the inventor of the spreadsheet, the inventor of shopping cart and affiliate marketing.
How are they thinking about data at this point?
It's we, it's not they.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yes,
All right.
data is the connection between intelligence, ours or artificial, and the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like data is how we bring reality to a computer, to a scientist, to a mind.
Mm-hmm.
And data is not just a perspective that you take. Data is a as complete as possible of a representation of reality.
Right.
And this is really important when you've got AIs. Like, how do these AIs connect to reality? Like, they need something,
Mm-hmm.
and data is that something.
Mm-hmm.
But even more interestingly, the same data layer is also how AIs will affect reality. So that data layer is the best way to address safety concerns. Okay, like the same infrastructure that on one hand is going to allow AI to do a lot better and have a better insight into reality, the same interface is also going to help address concerns about AI's potentially negative impact on reality.
How do you, the people who helped invent the technology that most of us are using today, how are all of you thinking about data now?
Data is the best way we can connect reality in its intangible way with our minds and our digital computers. Okay, so data is what we need to improve if we want a better connection between our minds and our reality. Any kind of a mind needs to have a connection to reality. Otherwise, you're like a brain in a jar
Yeah.
that doesn't see anything, that doesn't hear
Anything. Yeah.
anything, that doesn't learn anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to have basically minds, right, with this capability to make sense of things.
Yeah.
Okay, but we also need to connect these minds to reality, and we cannot connect them directly. But the way we connect them is through data.
Mm-hmm.
Like data is a representation of reality that is accessible to these minds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, data is how we structure the perceptions, the facts, the observations in a way that is unambiguous and uncontestable. Okay, like data is almost never debated, but our interpretation of that data can be debated.
Of course.
Okay, so like data is that thing that we need to build as a whole society
Mm-hmm.
that's going to provide reliable roads for the AIs to drive on.
So AI is going to be used more and more in law, in medicine, in journalism. And how do we make sure that Data Flowers becomes kind of like a public data custodian for these industries?
Well, I think the first step is going to be governments realizing that if they want to regulate AI,
Okay.
okay, like AI is like internal combustion engine. It's like the motor for the cars and trucks and buses and everything, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you regulate that? Well, you don't regulate it by making laws about how should one be driving, because at the end of the day, it's like ordinary people who are going to be driving and using AI.
Right.
Okay, the way you regulate cars is by building infrastructure, by building roads that have traffic lights, that have fences. Okay, like this
Mm-hmm.
is how you regulate it. You regulate cars, internal combustion engines with infrastructure.
Yeah.
Okay, not with laws.
Yeah.
So it's not just governments, however. It's also like companies. It's even individuals. Like we need to build our own data infrastructure that's going to allow AIs to work with our data without us losing that data,
Right.
or leaking it, or getting it destroyed. Okay, so like AI is like fire. Okay, you don't regulate fire. You cannot tell people what they can do with fire because they're going to do it anyway. Okay, you regulate fire by first having building codes that ensure that a house not going to burn down because of a fire. Okay. Second, by having fire extinguishers and fire departments. This is all infrastructure. Okay. Like we need to have infrastructure for building with AI. We need to have infrastructure around how data is stored, because data is like fuel for the AI. Okay. Like AI needs that fuel. Okay. But if there is the wrong type of fuel in the wrong place, like the AI is just going to make a huge disaster.
Yeah. What would this disaster look like when it comes to AI?
I mean, right now, in my personal,
what are some disasters that are already happening?
I mean, there are a few, but like the fundamental problems are people are using AI without the right infrastructure. So then AI is making mistakes and it's causing problems, and these problems are very hard to fix. Okay, like the second thing is like AI is not even able to deploy its full potential because it's lacking the data that a solid infrastructure would provide. The third type of problem is like AI is directly changing reality using the interfaces that have been built for people, not for AIs. Right? Like right now, when, like in the past, only humans would call on the phone and, delete their account. Now an AI can go and sound like a human and delete your account. It's not a problem with the AI. It's a problem with, whoever's thinking that, that if they have like a voice confirmation for deleting an account, that's okay. It's no longer okay.
Yeah.
Like the AI can synthesize the voice. And because of that, the old infrastructure that was based on only humans being able to do it has become inadequate. Okay. Like we need better infrastructure where changes and modifications that AI agents do on our data can be rewinded.
So effectively, we have 3 levels of change that we need to enact. The first level of change is the mindset. The second level of change is the policies. And the third level of mindset is like the innovative need for having this data completely differently organized.
Yeah, like we are running the AI on top of internet technology that has been built for people, 30 years ago and more. Okay, like the technology has changed so much that we need to rethink our digital infrastructure. I mean, we still have phone numbers. We still have forms.
Yeah.
Like we change these forms by, uploading PDFs. I mean, this is insane.
Crazy.
Like we're doing, like we're executing processes that have been designed in the era of paper and pen.
Yeah.
And now we're using like the latest technology to simulate paper and pen.
Yeah.
No, we need to be using digital data in a native way.
Paint me the picture of this vision. What is using data in a native way? Why is your company called Data.Flowers?
It's called Data.Flowers because data is not something dead that can be mined. Data is alive. It's changing all the time, the same way that the world is changing all the time. So it's a much better metaphor for data to think of it as a biological ecosystem than to think of it as something that's unchanging like a mine. So we need to work with data as a living system, something that's economically sustainable, something that's capable of self-improvement, of evolution.
When data evolves in this way, and it will have to, because otherwise we're basically going to be scrolling down an infinite paper page on our screens. Let's say this is what Web 2.0 is really, right? It's like an endless page that you're kind of scrolling down on. Like when data evolves into its next form, what is the internet going to look like? What are interactions between actors on the internet going to look like? And how is this going to change the life of a regular person?
The first phase of change is going to be very simple. Like all of the existing digital tools will just work better. So for example, when you search for a particular business, you're going to get better results because say Google search engine is going to have better data to work with.
Mm-hmm.
The second change is going to be very interesting because people are not going to be using applications directly. They're going to be working with data directly. It's not going to be like you're, filing your taxes on a PDF and then sending it. Instead, you're going to be kind of vibe coding changes to your, tax information in a database that at some point you're going to let the government take a look at it.
And it's always going to be refreshed, and it's always going to have the latest.
Well, it's always going to be up to date. It's always going to be backed up. You're always going to be able to rewind changes if necessary. You're not going to be sending forms back and forth and like forms being copied back and forth. Like it's just going to be data, which it is. Like every form is fundamentally, a data entry.
Yeah. But unlike a data entry that's frozen in time, you're going to have the understanding of how it's changing because it's basically versioned and available.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be dynamic, and you're going to have very fine-grained control over who's got access to what. And if someone needs to take a look, that is not going to violate the privacy of that data.
How is this different from using a blockchain?
A blockchain has been a concept that has been up and running since 1990s, like early 1990s. The first practical use of blockchain was as a notary system where you would prove that a particular document was really signed on a particular day. This technology was then used to support transactions, like IOUs, like this account sends this much to that account. And this particular type of database is very, very simple. Blockchain is an incredibly expensive, computationally expensive system for keeping track of this type of data entries. And blockchain, as much as I know, is not yet capable of dealing with a wide variety of use cases that are needed for data infrastructure to be used by AI. So I think blockchain is an incredible proof of a decentralized institution that is now running, and it supports certain types of data. At the same time, there are many other use cases that the blockchain cannot easily do directly. I think in about 2 decades, the two worlds are going to merge. But for the time being, it's almost like two independent ecosystems.
Right. Yeah. And data sovereignty, data transparency, and the ability to inherently understand how something was changing is not actually the best thing for the blockchain to try to keep track
Well,
of?
a blockchain in many use cases is fundamentally a database that's readable by everyone.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and this is not like representative for very many use cases around data.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next question is sovereignty, right? Uh, it's really important that we retain sovereignty over our own data, because right now we don't have that. Like, our data is all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
We have no real control over it, and this is not stable or safe
Yeah.
for a society to be in this type of a position. Like, we need to have data that's in many places, that's not necessarily fully decentralized, but like a data that we can actually carry with us, that's under our own control,
Right.
not under a system that someone else is running, where we're just promised that that data is going to be taken care of and that only we have access to it, when we know that others can have access to it.
And also, there were so many data breaches by the biggest companies with the best security systems.
Yeah, it's a consequence of a approach to data infrastructure that does not really take data sovereignty seriously.
A lot of the people that are in your circles are very interested in this concept, and people have been kind of clamoring to figure out how to get involved. So I could even say that in a way it's a revolutionary way of thinking about how data is being served. What would be your message to the people who want to get involved in your project, and how can they get involved?
It's an interesting question. Let me try to kind of break it up into a couple of different components.
Mm-hmm.
And this, like, I'm kind of like at the meta level. So like, we've got two audiences right now. The first audience is investors who understand that data infrastructure is one of the most important paradigm shifts.
It's a fundamental problem in computer
Right.
science.
Like, there is going to be trillions of dollars in value created by data infrastructure in the next decade. This is going to be one of the major shifts in technology in the coming decade. We still need to build this infrastructure. We've got a couple of like small data problems that we could build with our savings,
Mm-hmm.
as like a couple of individuals that have started the company. But like, in the next couple of years, the set of applications of this technology is going to be growing exponentially. At the moment, we've got several countries in Europe who have all of their AI companies using our software for better joint intelligence. Okay, so like, the AI companies themselves are the first to be using much better data infrastructure, and it's going to grow from there. So if you run, an AI association, if you're at least 50 AI companies, then we should talk.
And what is the one message that they want to give to the people who want to support the project?
It's a good decision, and we want to support you back, and we will.
All right. Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining today. I think we're going to probably have a lot more opportunities to talk about how data infrastructure is something that is fundamentally changing the way that we interact with technology. I think it's going to be a really interesting field in the next couple of years, which people don't even know about.
I don't like being a virus. I like being the seed of a flower.
Hence the name.
Our digital world is like a desert, and it's soon gonna start blooming.
And that's a great message to end this with. Thank you so much for joining.
Pleasure was all mine.
Okay.